Hello, everybody. Just give me a minute. I'm going to make this public on my page. This is always an awkward beginning. Here we go. Okay, so I made it public, and when you're ready, you can share it.
Perfect.
And then we'll get started. Let me know when you're ready.
How's everybody doing basking in this 222 stuff, right?
Yeah, so welcome to the Empowered Light Leader Show. If you're tuning in, join us for an hour. We have a special guest. This is the third episode of my podcast, and today's topic is going to be empowerment through self-healing. Before we begin, you like this show, you want to tune in, I do it weekly, and you can always watch it on my Facebook profile and my YouTube profile. So my name is Sarah. For those of you who are watching from Audrey's profile or Audrey's page, thank you so much for tuning in. Beautiful energy we had this week. There's a lot going on collectively. I do feel that me and Audrey are going to hit upon that and talk about that. And we're probably going to do some collective healing as well. So please stay tuned for that. So I am an intuitive, coach, trance channel, medium, author of so many things, as I'm sure Audrey is. And I met Audrey through a mutual friend, and I loved her energy right away. Beautiful energy. So I'm going to much love and gratitude. Hi, Haru. Nice to connect to you. And yes, if you want to connect to us through the comments, please connect to us through the comments. All of our contact info is there as well. So Audrey is, hi, Lisa. Audrey is very similar to me. I feel we both speak light language. We both connect to the dragons. We both are healers. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and talk a little bit about what she does. And then we're going to get into a little dialogue about self-healing and empowerment and healing yourself, right? So why don't you tell us what your work is, what you're doing right now. Hi, Dina. Hi, thank you for tuning in.
Well, thank you so much for that introduction, Sarah.
You're welcome.
So I have been kind of working in this energy realm and working with energy and divination. And I also identify as an educator, as an intuitive energy educator, and helping people get in touch with their gifts and their clear system and how they receive information. In the past 5 years, I've been taking it up to the next level. I was using sound. I used Tibetan sound bowls. So I use sound and vibration
nice.
with Reiki energy and light language. And now I'm kind of stepping into, or have been into, working with some more source energy and working with some more supportive energies from star families and stuff like that to assist in our human technology and releasing.
So channeling source, channeling galactic families, collective energy.
Yeah, so by getting in contact with this and kind of making these connections, it helps support me energetically to help folks transmute frequencies.
Yeah. So like almost like allowing them to heal through you or channel messages through you.
I'm leading my clients. So we're all capable of doing this. This is something that I've been kind of navigating for a while, but trying to find the most direct, clear way to really be able to transmute frequency. So energies and emotions essentially hold frequency.
Yes.
We know light language and other modalities help transmute those things.
Well, I was just going to ask you that. Do you feel like light language is a great way of transmuting and clearing energy? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so it's kind of, because I identify as an alchemist, there's different ways you can kind of transmute energy, sound being one of them, light language being another. Most recently,
why don't you explain to people what an alchemist means or what alchemy is for those watching? Yeah, I love that.
So we have experiences, right? And we have emotions, and these emotions live in our field and they hold frequency. So we're vibrating at a certain pace. So for me, being an alchemist is being able to hold a space for my clients, then have awareness and access to these different energies and emotions and be able to transmute them into higher frequencies of bliss and joy. And then so essentially our energetic field is like a movie projector, and the energy frequencies that are moving in our field, then I believe then emanate out and create our reality. So if
Well, do
we're
you feel almost the alchemy as a way of just transmuting the energy and taking that energy and releasing it to source, or
releasing into source, or so, raising the frequency of it would be a higher emotion. So we have like an emotion scale, Dr. F's
yes,
emotion scale of frequency. So on the lower end, the 125s, we have the fear, and we
yes,
all dip down there. We have those moments, but then you have like love, right? So that's about
highest
500
vibration.
hertz.
Yeah, I love that emotional frequency chart. Yeah, that's very helpful.
So it brings clarity. So that's really why I've been using the clearing through emotion. And this work kind of stems from emotion code, body code.
Yes, I was just going to ask you, have you read the emotion code? And for
So,
those of you watching, have you read the emotion code? It's amazing.
oh,
Yeah,
cool. So
yeah.
this is something that I've just been kind of recently in the past like 5 years. I've been just coming into this world. So it took a lot of the other channelings and, understanding the
How
clarity
did you get
stuff.
started? How did you first, so I know a lot of work you're doing now is alchemy and healing work.
Mm.
How did you get into that through your own self-healing or your own healing?
Yes. And so because I've been doing this, my first Reiki class I started when I was like 18 years old. So that was kind of when I
Oh,
first
wow. Yeah,
started
yeah, me
using
too.
tarot and getting
Yeah.
more comfortable with energies and mediumship, and then starting to understand through my own healing. I was experiencing a lot of anxiety. So that was something that I brought my attention to, and then understanding how, as clairsentient beings, we're being affected by energies in our environment. And then, okay, well, if we can do that, then we can kind of create or alchemize our space,
You were
right?
18, you were young. You were young. Yeah.
Yeah, but that took a long time to get there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, that was just when I first got exposed to it, because I was lucky enough to have my mother as a support system. So I got kind of an early crash or crash course or start to it.
Wow,
But that's kind
yeah,
of the
that's
point
good.
of getting to where I've got today, and using tools like kinesiology, muscle testing, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff that comes with the emotion code, body code. It gave it a level of clarity, so it's just very clear, as opposed to some of the other modalities where you really have to
Mm,
be clear activated and
I would love for you to go into that a little bit for people watching the process of clearing a stuck emotion,
mm,
using kinesiology and using muscle testing, and how you would do that.
sure.
So yeah, yeah, that would be great.
Okay, wonderful. So when we're using kinesiology, I'm sorry, there's just so much, but it
I
got
know,
me to,
I know it is, but I want you to explain it because
right?
it's
So
such
the
an
whole
amazing,
point
important thing.
So the whole point is I've dabbled in all these different realms of stuff, but really we just want to work on ourselves, and we want to be happy, and we want to help our clients feel happy. And
And
so,
self-empowered that they can do it themselves too, right?
and I think that's the thing. Like, there's just a lot of trust that has to go with our work, and we really have to bust through a lot of self-doubt, and it can take years. And so this
Yeah.
tool invites us in. And so when I found this world, I was already an intuitive, but I was working with clients to try to help them, clear some, fall into their natural gifts. Because we all have, if you have a chakra
Yes.
system, we're
Yeah.
receiving information in different ways. So it's like tuning in and cleaning out, right? So this was how I helped empower myself and then others, is through this. So I found this work by working with an emotion code practitioner.
Okay. All right. I've never had that done
So
before.
yeah, and so you
Yeah.
guys can reach out to your local, or somebody you're drawn to online. There are folks who are doing this work. So there's the emotion code and the body code. So the understanding is being able to communicate with like the highest form of consciousness through kinesiology, which is muscle testing. So some people will
Do
use
you
a
use this one?
pendulum. Pardon?
Do you use the thumbs like that? I use my body.
Yeah, the sway, that's beautiful. A
Yeah,
lot
I
of
use this way.
way. So
Yeah.
it's the understanding that our highest self or our highest form of consciousness, our like soul led, or higher
Like
self.
the innate body, right? The
Yeah,
innate knows. Yeah.
yeah. Innate is another, just always ever present, all knowing. We're like
Yes.
connected to source, God, at that point. So we have access to all the
Right.
information, but we block it, and
Dina says she uses this way too.
yeah,
Nice.
it's super helpful. So what that does is that bypasses our mind or our ego mind or whatever may be going on in the thought process and how that's working. And we just get a message from there. So with this is the, what Sarah was doing here, this is one of the most common muscle testings. And so for example, I can say, so you're going to test and some things are going to be nice and tight and some things are going to go right through and your body's going to go tight on a yes to kind of give that extra support. It's just going to be the, the way it is. Some herbologists or medical functional medicine doctors who use a lot of herbs, they'll use muscle testing to see how the body reacts to supplements they might think. When you're getting stronger, that means the body, the field, the whole system really likes what you're doing. So that's a yes, essentially.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah.
So for example, I'll put it up here. So if I'm going to ask, okay, so my name is Audrey, right? So I'm like, my name is Lisa. My name is Lisa. My name is Audrey. So it just is stronger. So then in what Sarah's talking about is the sway, and you stand in the middle and you ask a question. If you go forward, I believe it's a yes, and back is a no. And you can just use that or program it to what works for you.
And let me just interrupt you for a second. So a great way, I find that sometimes the mind can play tricks on you, even in those moments, like of the muscle testing. So a great way to experiment with that is, I think I read in the book with the sway, for example, ask to feel the energy of love and you'll go forward. Feel love, you'll go forward. Ask to feel the energy of like war and you'll go backwards. So just practice that and you'll get the feeling. Yeah. So I can interrupt you.
No, that's fine. And that's interesting because when I use this technique, I think it's really helpful to know that I feel it's more effective when we're definitely grounded and we're centered and stuff like that, because being super grounded and aligning in that way. And then I usually connect to source directly. So anytime I do any kind of work or channeling or any kind of question asking to myself or around my clients, I'm just connected directly to source. And then when I do energy work, the channel goes directly through source and then to the client. So there's no intermingling or risk of entanglement, because we're just human beings and we love each other and we want to do that. But if we do this professionally and you have 4 clients a day, it can get really confused.
Oh my God. Yeah. Especially, I mean, I'm sure keeping your energy clear too.
Yeah.
Well, when you're clearing the stuck emotion, Lisa says she uses that to pick her crystals. That's awesome. I do that too.
I love that.
Yeah. So when you're clear, can you explain to them like an example of a stuck emotion or maybe something that happened with a client that you cleared and how you cleared it?
Yeah. So when we start working and we get set up right like this, so we get into that space and I'm all connected and we're grounded, and usually I'm open and aware and I get something from their soul. So they will be present energetically and I'll either feel it in my body, I'll hear a word or something along the lines. Lots of times with new clients, it'll be safety. So right off the bat, it's something new. So it's like a little bit of a root chakra activation, a little bit of safety.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because they're nervous to work with you? Is it?
Well, it's not a me thing. It's just the soul in general. And a lot of times when something is new is happening and you really don't know what to expect and you haven't worked this directly with things, and it's not really about me in this moment. It's about all the millions of lifetimes in the past that they're just carrying stuff, or maybe because 9 times out of 10, if you're going to work with somebody, you're finding that you're not real comfortable. There's something coming up in life and you're like, I'd really like to seek some assistance, when we choose where we want to go. And if it's an energy, worker or reader or, spiritual advisor, life thing. So there's usually something going on. And then usually that's either a representation of a current circumstance or a repetitive pattern from their past. So
that makes sense.
Kind of, and it's just like the way when you're channeling, Sarah, when you're like getting something on somebody and something's coming in and you might feel emotion and you're like, oh, and you're using the clairsentience, or you might see a lifetime that maybe they're purging or processing. That's something that you could assist with. The light language will help them release. It kind of comes the same way, but then you just pinpointed to, okay, what's that frequency? Okay, so that's So I get lost a lot. There's a lot of lost,
Oh, that's interesting.
lifetimes that will come up. And I think right now in our collective, there's so much information coming in from, everywhere. And then the frequencies rising, we kind of get, we can get a little bit lost.
Yeah, disconnected, I think, disconnected from source, disconnected from oneness. That so lost makes sense. And
Yeah.
do you notice that certain frequencies, do they get stuck in the organs or stuck in the tissues, or do you kind
That's
of
a
have?
really good question. Yes. And you can tell because sometimes you'll go to clear something. And a lot of times when I'll be clearing, I just have trust that it's all happening. This is all intention based, guys. So I can do it just the same as you can do it, just the same as anybody can
Absolutely.
do it. And that's why it's
Absolutely.
so empowering because you don't need to be super clairvoyant. You don't need to have
Yes.
everything activated. You can just, and it stops us and it slows us down because this is how we could work together. But then it's also kind of teaching a process that's you can then do on your own. So when you wake up, if you're not feeling so hot before you start a day and not feeling so hot, you can like tune in and be like, hey, is there something I can release? Like, can
Yes.
I let go? Like, I'm feeling a
Yeah.
little heavy. And so, it doesn't keep us so, it keeps us in, allows us to empower our sovereignty and knowing that we can do these things.
Yes, on our own, and that we can check in with our bodies and actually know how to hear our bodies and listen to our bodies. I wonder if you notice this as a practitioner, as a healer,
Mhm.
that does it seem like, have you noticed that most people tend to be too much in the mind and really have a hard time connecting to their emotions and are their feelings or their body, and they're just like, I don't know what I'm feeling. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, and I think a lot of the time it can be just simply like what we were just saying. We just don't really stop to do it. I think that we're just,
Yeah, we don't.
we have a lot going on.
Go, go, go. Yeah.
We have a lot going on and we have jobs and families and homes and it's a lot. And so it's kind of interesting what's coming in for me right now to share is I used to take all these classes. We started talking about some of the stuff that I've done and I really love the spiritual stuff. And, I have training from access consciousness bars to tarot and all that kind of stuff. But the
Wow.
lessons I learned the most that elevated me the most was in like regular, just 3D world jobs.
Yes, that's such a great point. Wow. Love
And
that.
just learning how to deal with people and deal with my
Mhm.
own emotions. And like, I feel like I really blossomed and grew and activated the most when I just sat down and was like, okay,
What is
what's,
this teaching me, or what's showing up for me, or what?
what's happening here?
Because life experience is like the master teacher, right? It really
Right.
is.
You know, and then
Yeah.
a lot of times it can be so simple, right? We can just, and sometimes it takes more work because that I think with having this understanding that there's things that we can look into, like you can simply start to learn these techniques by just purchasing the book. I believe it's Dr. Francis, the author of the Emotion Code. Do you remember?
No, I forget. I have it on Audible on my phone. I could look
I'm
really
gonna
quick.
I'm just gonna look it up just because I'm talking about it so much. But
I
and then
love to listen to audiobooks. I feel like
me too.
it's easier to take in the information and you can
Yeah.
listen while you're Oh, Dr. Bradley Nelson. Oh, it's Dr.
Nelson, that's what it is. Yeah.
And so
So
you can become certified as an emotion code coach?
you can. I have not because the way I got into this is I had a practitioner who I was working with, and my husband and I went through some transitions. We had moved, we were in Western New York. We bought a house. It had toxic soil. We sold
Oh,
the house. We moved, but we all had COVID back to Texas.
wow. A
So
lot.
I
Yeah.
had been working with somebody very, very regularly, and she had amazing. This is actually it's called Healing Remembered by Kate Elliott. This is a practitioner who she was my original yoga teacher when I was 15, way
Mm.
back when. So it kind of came full circle. But she had started using this and started working with me and then kind of branched off a little bit. Now she's created some of her own modalities that I've worked and trained in. So
Oh,
through
wow.
process, I kind of picked it up as a tool. So you can kind of dive in as much as you want. You can check out the YouTube videos, just looking up emotion code, body code. You can check out Dr. Nelson's website. All those certifications are there as well. Just kind of depends on, are you already getting messages and you just want a new tool, or do you feel like a new system of integration to help assist with communication with your body? I mean, and I still think about taking it because, I feel like sometimes I miss some things that are real easy, that if I, the structures, like the foundation sometimes,
Or just knowing, just for anybody, even if you're not a practitioner, just to know your body and know how to heal yourself. That's the most empowering thing ever, right? So you don't have to get to the point of having to go to the doctor. So you're right. So you're constantly self-healing. Yeah.
So I kind of like this too, because there's so much information that it can empower any modality, whatever you're already using, to help just kind of integrate. Maybe if you're making discernment around decisions in your own life, or like just about business growth. And, sometimes I even will also test like, what's a really good collaboration, or should I teach a, should I do something at this studio, or is today a good day to be making?
I do it for dates all the time. Like, when should I have this event? Should I do it this day? Should I do it this day? All right, should I do it this day? Should I do it this day? I do that too. Yeah.
And I think it's nice because it gets us connected to like us, and because we have a lot of guides and we have a lot of beautiful beings we work with. The Jesus and the Christ energy is also something we have in common, that we both are very close. And so that's a beautiful energy to work with and help integrate and help others kind of integrate and illuminate that heart space. But what was I going to say? But connecting to ourselves, like empowering that, like, going to the guides when we want to, but going to ourselves and having ourselves talk to our client's soul. I think that's so cool.
Absolutely. And I feel like I'm called to ask you this. I've been talking about this with Dina. The Gene Keys. Have you read, or do you know anything about the Gene Keys?
I do. And Dina actually introduced me to the Gene Keys. I was aware of the I Ching. So the Gene Keys are based on the I Ching. Although I've tried to read the I Ching, and like, I don't know about you, girl, but
no, I've never tried. Is it too? I was thinking about it.
Okay.
Because it's an ancient text, right?
Yeah, and it's translated. I mean, they've obviously translated to English, because I don't know if it's like Sanskrit originally, or if it was just an Asian dialect. I don't know, but I know it's from, that area of the world.
Oh, right, the translation.
Yeah.
So how would you explain the Gene Keys? It's like
it was so the Gene Keys is that Richard Rudd has reiterated that into text that's a lot more contemplative, and I really truly resonate a lot with it. Like,
oh my God, it's changing my life just listening to it on the audio.
Well, and that's the thing. There's so many things that are just so activating. The frequencies
on Audible,
Yeah, and it's so nice to it's another representation of like, so how just intention and just listening and being open can activate and clear things in it.
Just by listening to it, I feel like because we forget that our consciousness is part of the all, right? Of all that is. So all we have to do, like with light language, when we hear light language, speak light language, it's unlocking. It's like turning on that light switch, or allowing for that permission slip to just, allow for what's already there, right?
Absolutely. And it's a remembering too. That's one thing that I really liked when I started working with light language, was the term remembering. And I don't think
absolutely. Yes.
We're more than just this 3D, this physical structure. And it's kind of funny, this thing called life, right? We do all these things, and we're like, let's forget everything and pretend we have no idea, and try to follow the breadcrumbs all the way.
Yes, exactly. It's so funny. We're so on sync. But I love that remembering. And whenever I help people, I always say, I'm helping you to remember your light language, or I remember, because there's not one thing you don't know.
Right. Right. And you just ask, and you have access to, like, if you're working with God or source, however that feels comfortable, that unified field of energy, that quantum field. It's not, there's not somebody who can't access it.
Right. Absolutely.
Maybe time to feel it or see things, but you don't need to. Just taking to slow down
Yeah, do you
and
think sometimes people
connecting.
get maybe intimidated? Um, are
Well, we
they
want it to be hard, I feel like, and for me included,
mm,
if it's not stressful, it's not working, or if it's I'm not working hard, if it's not,
right,
that's like the old
right.
way, and
Those are old,
around.
yeah, old
Although,
paradigms, old belief systems. Yeah.
yeah, so I think that
Yeah.
probably plays a role, but that's just part of, I guess, what we were talking about earlier, just like the day to day, the life stuff that comes up,
The mundane life stuff. But yeah, so for those of you who are interested in learning about the gene keys, I highly recommend it because it's
Yeah.
the archetypes, right? It's the archetypes in our DNA. Is that how you explain it?
So the gene keys so they create a hologram. So the hologram in the gene keys is an
No, it's
11.
kind of like over my head a little bit.
I think I think it's good. So it's an 11-point sphere that they call a hologram, which makes it confusing. But really what it is you put your astrological info just like you would for your
Yeah,
chart. And
yeah,
you see, this is another thing that I love about this. It's a free resource,
yeah.
www.genekeys with an S,
Yes, you can get a free
keys.com.
profile.
It creates
Yeah,
a free profile, and so it'll spit out your 11 sphere, and each sphere has like a little different part of your life. There's a life
yeah.
path. There's like there's a love life part. There's your purpose, and then there's your financial. Your pearl, because
The
essentially,
pearl sequence, right?
right,
Yeah.
when we're aligned with our manifestations, that's when they happen, and that's when we can bring things into our life, and that's
Mhm.
another thing we can check with muscle testing. How aligned am I with this manifestation?
Oh, I love that.
And you can
I
do a
never
snap
thought to
with
do
your
that.
or you could usually I wind up getting bigger, like 1 to 100. I get percentages. I think it's just because it's in my
Oh,
mind. Like,
how aligned am I with this manifestation? Yeah,
yes,
I
and then
love
what
that.
can I and if it's like, "Oh, okay, 65%," and then I'm like, "Well, what can I clear? What can I clear to get this higher?" Right? And then
Mm.
maybe a feeling will come up, maybe betrayal.
Um,
Maybe I'm trying to manifest something with somebody else or myself, and there's something that's blocking me. Because usually what happens is we block ourselves because of fear on a subconscious level.
right.
Maybe we had a mentor that wasn't so nice. I've had that experience a few times. You
I have
know,
yeah.
I feel like we all, because we contract, we have to learn these things, and how else do they come in? I mean,
Of
it might have
course,
been nice
yeah.
if my heart wasn't like in the meat grinder, but I feel like we all have had a meat
Well,
grinder.
yeah, we all and because that's how we help others too, right? By going through those things.
And how
Um,
do we not want to be, how do we want to make sure that we don't treat the open hearts that come to us, right? And say, hey,
oh, yeah.
I want to work with you. And like how, because now we know how we want to be treated and held and boundaries respected and all that yummy stuff,
Yeah, but I love that. So how aligned am I with this manifestation? Or
Mm,
if you're choosing a life path and which way to go,
right.
what is more in alignment for my higher calling, my higher purpose,
Yeah.
right?
And if the muscle testing is challenging, by the way, there's millions of videos on YouTube about how to muscle test. Like I said, my mentor, Kate Elliott of Healing Remembered, does have many of these. Again, another free resource, guys, like how doing what we can for each other that we could do for ourselves. Um, maybe it's a little tight for a month and we can't do a whole lot of like one-on-one stuff. Maybe then we can schedule that in session with myself 7 to 8 tomorrow morning, even if it's while you're working out,
Yeah.
right?
Do
That's
you
another thing.
ever use a pendulum?
Well, that was exactly what I was gonna say. This
Oh, it's so funny.
this is my favorite.
Oh, it's a caduceus,
So,
right?
it is
Yeah.
I feel like I knew you were gonna love that.
Yeah,
So,
I love it.
I like, Pendulum Academy. I think it's Eric Notch, and you can find him on Facebook. He has a whole grouping of things. He's got many offerings, and there's many different kinds of pendulums you can do. Like the crystal. Like I have crystal pendulums too. like
Oh
these
yeah, I
kind.
have a bunch of them.
And wood, there's all sorts of ones. But yeah, so if muscle testing is a little bit of challenge, and you can clear around that, because sometimes, we don't want to use a tool because we're infinite beings, and parts of
Yeah,
our
I feel like the pendulum's a little challenging for me in the muscle testings because I feel like I just feel like something's always messing with it that's not me. Like
Right. Well, that's interesting that you say that, because that's why so this pendulum, and the reason why I said something about where I got it, and I could put it in the notes later, is because it's a special steel so that it doesn't get attachments. And I know that sounds crazy.
oh no, that's
But
not crazy at all. I need one of those.
okay, so you're not making it up. We can get attachments on our pendulum, and then it can manipulate it. And it can even be
I
our own
feel that
ego.
intuitively. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're
Yeah.
not making it up. It's totally accurate. You can clear those out, and you can do that with sound or salt or intention. For that one, I'm even seeing like whatever that is that you're specifically talking about. Your higher self is showing me, if you don't mind me saying, burying it in the dirt. I don't know if that resonates
Oh,
with you.
okay. Yeah, I have a couple of them. I'll bury them all in the dirt.
I don't know why. I've never heard that before, but that sounds great.
No, I mean, I've done that with crystals
Grounding,
before.
right?
Yeah, I've
Bury
done that.
things in the dirt.
I used to have a close spiritual friend and mentor, and she always said to make sure you drank water before you use the pendulum.
Hydration
Yeah.
is really, really helpful. When we're dehydrated, that can throw off our muscle testing and our pendulums.
Wow, that's
Mhm.
interesting.
So when I work with
Yeah.
clients, I clear myself, and I make sure I'm hydrated. And then I actually use the pendulum, and I positively polarize and harmonize the karma between myself and my client before I even start working.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
So there's a lot
Yeah.
of fun things that, like, that's just as simple as reading that somewhere and me feeling like that really feels good for me, and then implementing it.
Do you have a favorite modality when you're working with clients, or are you just using whatever comes up, or is it kind of like a
It really does resonate. I really do. A lot of my work really is emotion code, body code based, because I do
okay?
kind of do that. And when I get a little bit caught, I will use the pendulum. And there are some charts, and you can go into, when you brought up body organs and stuff, and you can go in. And if I'm not getting an intuitive hit, like if I'm not seeing a place to go, I'll use the pendulum. And we have charts. And some of the practitioners, we use charts, and it'll be like, body part, and it'll tell you where to go
The
and what
emotion
emotion
that
to
is
the body
associated with that, right?
part.
Yeah.
Yeah, or if
Yeah.
there's like, it could be associated in general. I mean, a lot of times, you're going to see stuff like, you'll see grief around here a lot, but sometimes you
Yeah.
might be guided somewhere else, and it might be stuck somewhere else. And you just kind of ask questions, and
Do you use
it,
light language too when you're clearing some emotions as it comes up?
yeah, I do now. Like, this has, like, been
Oh,
within the past year. So this is, like, so
oh,
I've always resonated as a dragon oracle. You kinda brought that up a little bit
yay!
before.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So we
yeah.
have common, but so I've been working with that for a long time, but then, so that came in, and then I believe I was activated with the light language, and then Dina activated
Yeah.
me in dragon, so that was
Do
cool.
you want to do you want to talk a little bit more about the dragon energy for people who are
Sure.
watching? Yeah. Yeah.
Love that. So we're probably a little bit more familiar with like fairies and the fae and that kind of understanding.
Angels. Yeah.
So these are beings that work in, a lot of times, the fourth dimension and higher. The fairies usually live in that realm, and it's like an elemental frequency, right? So it's associated with the planet. And the dragons are this macro energy to like the
Yeah.
micro of the fairies, or I
Yes.
feel is a good way. And
Mhm.
I do believe that the very basis, they're like the ancient wisdom keepers of the earth, and it goes all the way back even to the masculine Christo and the feminine Sophia. And those of you who are familiar with the Sophia code, that's the Sophia dragon code
Oh, yes,
and
yes.
all of that. And I do believe that we all cultures all over the planet had been having dragons in association, and understandings of these creatures and the wisdom from all different realities and lifetimes for many years. And unfortunately, I think the biggest cutoff, and now we're back there, but the biggest cutoff was the Crusades, because there was so much bloodshed at killing in the name of the Christ energy. And
Wow, it's a trauma. It's like our imprint.
I feel like it closed up a little bit of our consciousness, and we kind of went
Mm,
down at that point, and we had a little bit, more of a less conscious, less aware experience for
yeah,
a couple thousand
like the
years.
heart became closed a little.
I
Yeah,
would definitely say that it had to, right?
yeah.
And
Yeah,
so,
that's interesting that you brought up the Crusades. I think that a lot of us have had lifetimes then too. I've felt that and experienced that. Yeah,
I
yeah.
definitely feel and relate to Joan of Arc. So
Oh
I
my
don't,
God, me too.
right? Like either we're soul fractals and like so, and they
Persecution, yeah, persecution, all of that, speaking your truth and then being persecuted for it, right? I think a
which
lot of us have that. Yeah, Dina too. She says me too. Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so and those are times and experiences that we've had, and sometimes those things, still kind of little bits and pieces get clogged, and it does start to show up in our lives. And so if we just track the emotion back, that's when you just kind of, it's an easier way to do it than kind of, I
When
don't
it
know.
comes up, you mean? Like when
Yeah,
it's coming up to be in the moment.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just having the awareness, and then you kind of ask it. And you could even do this work and feel like, oh, what's to clear? And you could get really good at it, and you could feel an emotion come up, and you could close your eyes and you could see like some crazy battle and be like,
That's happened to me. Yeah, like
right?
one day I woke up and I saw in my mind's eye armor. It was so clear. It was like a Roman, it was like a soldier. And I was like, whoa, where did you come from? Because I feel like, right, things are multidimensional. So things are coming up and timelines are all like colliding over each other and they're just coming up. So it's not that weird to see those things, right?
Right. Exactly. And just a little reminder for everybody who's experiencing that, if you feel like you're not clairvoyant and you're seeing stuff like what Sarah's just describing, that is your clairvoyance. You
Yeah.
are.
Yes.
You are clairvoyant. And that's the other part of
Yeah.
what I really find to be passionate about is, helping folks remember that we're all like this. We're not just partly like this. Like we all are gifted, and,
Yes,
any
absolutely.
magic that anybody else can't have, or,
I actually believe that everybody's capable of remembering light language and accessing
yeah,
those codes.
for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah,
For sure.
or channeling or doing any of this work. It's
Yeah.
just opening yourself up to it, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And it's like a remembering of how we really function and operate. I mean, we've done
yes.
a really interesting job as a civilization of creating new ways to do things and whatnot. But I do think that energy medicine and frequency was really the basis of our species. And, I think it's coming
It's
back.
more natural. Yeah, it's so much more natural. Even when I talk to people before I do a channeling or a healing, I'm always like, this is not weird. I know it seems weird, but it's not weird.
I
It's more
know, right?
normal than you think, you know?
Yeah.
Tina says, you both have empowered and helped me so much. Aw, we love you. And Lisa says, that's the hard part, opening yourself up completely.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and it's like taking it one step at a time too, because I feel like, we've done this so many times. There's like a part of us that is like, I feel like for me, I could speak for my own experience, but sometimes I get frustrated with where I'm at, like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
wanting to be more open or wanting to be comfortable being more vulnerable, but it's just a
Or
process.
just doubts, like even, I'm sure with you, I know you mentioned the beginning, it took you like, there were layers of years of like getting into your gift. When I was activated with channeling and light language, I was doing it, but I didn't fully understand it or even believe it. There were times when it was coming through me and I still was like, is this real?
I know.
Yeah.
It's funny because even working with clients, they'll be like, sometimes it's going really good, and sometimes they're just kind of looking at me, because a lot of times I'll use Zoom because there's no space and time, so we can do this work from anywhere. And I'll be looking at them and I'll be like, how you doing? They're like, doing really good. I'm like, all right. And then I'll check how much they believe in what we're doing. And
Oh,
if it's
wow.
low and we clear around that, right? And then they feel it and they're like, whoa. And I'm like,
Wow.
we can block our own healing. you know?
Oh, absolutely. And the more open you are to it, the more you receive, right?
Yeah.
So would you like to do some kind of
Yeah.
healing or collective healing? I know we talked about that in the beginning. Um, maybe I don't know if you want to speak light language or do throw some codes out there, or just have everyone set an intention, or if anyone has any questions for Audrey, please feel free to type that in the chat now.
Yeah.
But
Well, and
yeah,
if anybody's experiencing something, if something's been sitting on their heart heavy, like, and if they can um, squeeze it down to like an emotion or a word, I can tune in and do that. But
yeah, that's a good idea.
for me, I think I'm going to tune in a little bit. So this is kind of how I set up. You guys might want to try this too if you're having problems grounding, because that was a big game changer for me. Once I could really get a solid grounding, because it's so much energy. I felt like that was actually literally causing anxiety. So I don't know if
Oh,
somebody's
yes.
struggling with anxiety,
That's
this might
happened to me before.
in the beginning, and we start to kind of open up and we're feeling so much of other people's stuff as well. And that's coming in right now. So what I'd like to do is kind of do a little setup, and we'll go ahead and program this for anybody who does not want to receive. That's no problem. Your soul's not, there's nothing forced on you at all. And if for anybody watching the replay, if you'd like to receive this, it should activate no problem for the replay as well. So, and then
Yeah.
feel like it benefited you, you can watch it again
Yeah,
sometime.
I'm gonna watch it again.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So should I do that now, or do you have should we talk about something else?
No,
Or
we can do that now. I just want to
okay.
read one comment. Lucy's Love and Light Messages says, that has been my issue for a month. I'm blocking myself and I don't know why.
Oh,
Okay.
should we go there too for a second?
Yeah.
So, sometimes, Lucy, it really does take that slowing down, because, we're blocking ourselves, but it might just I would suggest, even I'm hearing breath work, because I think that can get you. I'm feeling like there may be a lot of, you kind of got a lot going on, and first of all, the awareness of knowing and blocking yourself is absolutely beautiful. So hats off to you.
Oh, yeah, that's
Really
true.
great, because there's often times where I'm blocking myself and I'm not even consciously
Yes.
aware of it at all. And I'm like,
Right.
round peg, square hole. So that's
Right.
the other part of this, is sometimes we can go back to gratitude. That's a good little trick for me when I'm
Oh,
finding,
absolutely.
like, where I don't know why. And then sometimes something else will come up, and then you can clear from that. So you can always kind of go back to gratitude. And I say that because sometimes sitting and doing the work when there's like frustration or stress, I'm not really down to do it. Like, I'll kind of like, all right, well, let's go make jewelry. Two guys make crystal jewelry. And so,
I used to make jewelry too.
yeah, right. Oh, fun. I think let me see. I wanted to pick out something for you, so we'll have to do that. So I do this high vibrational jewelry that doesn't work very
Oh, I love it.
well. So then I'll distract myself and do something else. So first and foremost, before I work, I'll find that place of gratitude, and I'll try to find a couple things that I'm feeling grateful about. And then I'll go ahead and plug in. So I use a hematite, rainbow hematite anchor in the center of the earth. So I envision the core of the earth as a crystal garden. And I literally take my
Mm.
little self in my mind's eye, and I kind of like plunge myself down, and I throw my anchor. And it took me a long time to realize that I needed an anchor, because a lot of other people would do like a vision of like a beautiful golden light coming down from the tree root. And I was like, not grounding.
Never worked for me either. I do the anchor also. That's so
Oh,
interesting.
do you?
Because, yeah, I had a channel once. I said, I have a hard time grounding.
Yeah.
And the channeler said, well, you're not from Earth. That might be why, but just use an anchor and anchor yourself. And ever since then, I do.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
So cool. So yeah, so do what works for you guys. If you're using a method and it's not grounding you, try something else. There's a million things. Tree roots are good, tree of life roots are good. Um, so I ground first. So then I'm grounding. And then I come back up to my heart space and I illuminate my heart space. And if I'm feeling a little off, sometimes I'll take a minute and kind of find some gratitude for myself or something that I've accomplished or something that's come into my life. And if that's even a challenge, maybe it's just my dog or my home or my body, something simple. And from there, I go ahead and I connect. I use the energies in the suns in the galaxy. So I connect to the sun in our galaxy or in our solar system, the great sun in our galaxy, and then I also connect to the great central sun, which is Sirius. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the 12th dimensional frequency. The 12th dimensional frequency is source frequency. And the 13th dimensional frequency of sacred healing womb. The space where all energy can be transcended. Okay, so first and foremost, I'm going to go ahead and a lot of times a low-grade anxiety that we might carry as earthlings, as people just that are in Earth or on this plane and interacting and dealing with everything that's happening locally and globally, especially in these now moments. We have a lot of anxiety, and that comes from trust and activation of flow. Because ultimately, if we can kind of agree and align and trust that no matter what we experience, it's for the highest and best, and that if we can just stand in the most beautiful space of non-judgment and compassion for ourself and our experience, then it can kind of transcend that frequency of anxiety, and we can activate that into flow. So first and foremost, I'm going to try to bring down the fear anywhere and anything that anyone is ready to release any kind of frequency of fear in their field, whether that is collective or that is something that you're generating on your own. We'll go ahead and cancel, clear, release fear. And I'm going to go ahead and use the breath to help push some energy and release. Anywhere we might experience or be experiencing the frequency of fear in our field, whether that's our own or that's picking up from the collective or people we interact with at work or in our social situations that are coming into our life. And sometimes we either take that on or we're just exposed to it. We're going to cancel, clear, and release fear. And allow that to change to unconditional love. And allow that to transcend into unconditional love. Anywhere we're willing to let that go. And we can take a deep breath with that. And hold that deep breath for 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and release. And so that's kind of like a big one. In addition, I'd like to activate flow. Activate the flow that's our divine birthright to be able to trust in ourselves, trust in the universe, trust in our creator, our God within ourselves. And anything that might be blocking that, anything that might be disabling or quieting that, we're going to cancel, clear, release. So collectively as a world, as a unit, as a civilization, there's kind of a lot of chaos, just like a chaos floating. And so that's just kind of part of where we're at. But we can control what's happening in our space, right? We can empower ourselves to say, I'm not going to experience that right now in this now moment. So we're going to cancel, clear, release chaos. Any kind of chaotic energy that's coming in, whether that's absorbed from others, absorbed from the collective. And we're going to cancel, clear, release. And reprogram to unconditional love. You may feel the need to breathe or move a body part or stretch, taking a deep breath, maybe. That's what I'm going to do. Sarah, is there an energy that might be coming in for you that you feel that you would want to maybe check in with and we can clear for you or for the collective? Maybe you're picking up on something from someone or something else?
I feel like the collective energies are feeling overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so overwhelmed as a frequency. Yes. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and cancel, clear, release, overwhelmed. Cancel, clear, release, pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to kind of visualize this. I'm visualizing like the world, and we can do this for humanity too, guys. You can do this as part of your daily or bi-daily, like every other day or once a week meditation. So while we're in this space where we've kind of like gone inward, we can visualize the world. We can visualize the whole planet. You can visualize a certain area. If there's a certain situation you want to help with, and you kind of just visualize unconditional love wrapping the whole planet and visualize that happening. And I almost want to say visualize this happening right in front of our third eye, because that's lined up with our pineal gland, and we can kind of let that, what I call, seed itself, and we can really put an energy and intention into that. So in this now moment, if you'd like to do that, visualize the whole planet as a world, as a unified field, as one group of humanity and the planet, and then visualizing and bringing in a feeling of unconditional love. You might have an easy access to unconditional love. You might know what that feels like. You might have to kind of tap into a memory, a really beautiful moment, something you experienced with a friend or a best friend or a family member, and you can kind of find your unconditional love that way. But we can kind of bring that up, and we can visualize and bring that up to our pineal space, into our third eye. And we can kind of seed that for the whole planet and allow that to kind of take some energy, and just sending the whole planet just unconditional love. And anywhere, in any place, on any space and time, where anyone's willing to let go and transcend the frequency of overwhelm, cancel, clear, release. And we can go ahead and reprogram that to unconditional love and joy and bliss. And know that we are the sovereign beings that have control over our space and our energy field. And anytime that we desire a change, we can stop and make a change. Whether that's in our own daily practice or researching something that is calling to us and giving us a tool, how we can make it a daily practice, or however that looks for us.
That was beautiful. I love that. I really enjoyed that. I was kind of assisting you with some light language with my hands and just moving and feeling the energy. And if anybody watching felt that coming up, let us know what you were feeling while Audrey was guiding us through that beautiful. It's like a healing, like a self-healing, an activation, and kind of combination of that. I was I was on the verge of going into light language, like so like
Next time, do it. Yes, it's a group effort, when it comes in, and that's the thing. Like, light language is just transmitting it, getting it in some way.
yeah,
That was,
yeah.
so that's beautiful, and
It's just frequency. It's just codes. It's
Yeah,
just,
however it comes in. Some people paint them, some people, you know,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, there's definitely a lot of energy that's
Yeah, the energy. I often feel almost like this is assisting and
yeah,
moving
for
energy.
sure. I would 100% confirm that, especially because it's like in our space and we just like, and I was feeling that like right here. So, and a representation of what I'm feeling then will kind of generate a response for me to do something. So that's just like another like intuitive ping, you know?
Yeah, when you asked me like what's the feeling, I felt that there's so many people that are just like on overdrive. It's there's like they're letting too much sensory
Yeah,
like in, like they're letting to, and it's over
over.
and I think that's why also you were called to talk about the grounding in the beginning too,
Yeah, for
because we
sure.
need that. Yeah, we need
And
that
taking that
grounding.
time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that
And
was so beautiful.
thank
And it
you.
looked like some people enjoyed it too. That was relaxing and peaceful. Love that. Would you like to share with anyone anything you have coming up? Any offers you have coming up? Any events you have coming up?
Actually, I do have an event this Saturday that is in a group that Dina's a part of, and I can never say this right. Sanuste? Am I saying that right? Sanuste? Sanuste? I'm not sure.
No, no. Oh,
So
she wrote LOL.
I know I can't even say it right. But so I do readings. I'll be working with a friend of mine who's also an intuitive, and we do light language healings and upgrade up levelings and all that stuff, all that beautiful stuff, just like Sarah offers. So I'm just another flavor, another crayon in the deck.
Yeah, you're very similar. I know. I definitely enjoyed this with you, though. I felt like our
You
energies were
know,
so, you
so
know,
good. Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe we'll have to
yeah,
work together. Maybe we have some work
yeah.
to do, and maybe we could do it in however way that comes up. But I'm open to anything.
Yeah,
So
I'd love to learn from you too. I feel like you have some knowledge that yeah, that she said sayunaste, sayunaste.
it's not just me, right? So yeah, so Dina and I are doing readings and energy clearing light language activation on Saturday. So if anybody's
Oh,
interested, you can
cool, 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 cool. Awesome.
follow me
Yeah.
at From the Light on Facebook, or you can
Oh,
connect
let
with
me
me
put
on
up.
Instagram, 8 from the Light 8. You can connect with me there, or I do have a website where you can
There
see
we
all
go. There's both our information
oh,
here. Oh, and I
perfect.
forgot to
There you
put
go.
the banner on the bottom.
Oh, no worries. Perfect.
But yeah, and also her contact info is in the comment section if you want to get in touch with her.
Yeah.
Um,
And I do a lot of custom work with crystal bracelets and stuff like that. And I just actually, I didn't tell you, Sarah, but I just got a huge shipment of crystal dragons in too. So,
oh, lovely. I love that.
so I might have to do a live with some crystal dragons, and I have like some light language offering around that too.
Lucy's Love says sensory overdrive is in my daily life, unavoidable due to kids, but learning to deal. I love your energies. Thank you for sharing. Oh, you're so welcome. Okay, so that was good message for you then, Lucy. I'm glad you watched.
Yeah.
And you can tune in next week. I will be, I believe, Tuesday. I forget who my guest is, but I'll be back. I'm
Always.
all, yeah, I'm starting to do more monthly events as well. And I
Cool.
was just having a conversation with Dina. I feel really called to do like work with innocence lately and
Mm,
helping people reconnect to their heart voice and their heart song and through creativity, because you don't have to be, me and Dina were saying, like you don't have to be an artist to be creative. Creative energy is meant to be expressed by everyone. And I feel like not enough people know the importance of that, how to ask that, right? Or how to
yeah.
channel that.
I think that's
Right?
beautiful, and I think
Yeah.
innocence is like where they can be vulnerable, when they
And,
feel.
and free, right? And just, yeah. So I'm thinking about putting together more workshops on that and just, yeah. But it was a pleasure having this conversation with you. And thank you so much for being
Oh,
on here. I love that healing that we did. And thank you everybody for watching. And I'm excited for the event. Yay! And thank you. All unconditional love, beautiful gratitude, lovely comments. And let's have Audrey back another time. And I love that. Okay, everyone. I'll let you all go. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. You're welcome.
Take
Bye,
care.
everyone. Bye. Bye.